Hi guys, I wanted to go over the answers for the record sheet for subjects 5, 6, and 7 for their force and accuracy throws. So the first video we're going to look at is the force throw for thrower number 5. I'll go in the order that we have in the table just so it's easy to follow. Thrower 5's force throw should have had a backswing categorized at step 3. So step 3 would be a circular upward and backward swing. The first thing we look for is if the arm moves backward before it goes forward. And if it does the hand drop below the waist? So if we go to our throw, we can see the arm does move backward before it goes forward. And it does start by dropping below the waist. So then the thing to look at is, does the ball swing outward and up and around, making like a circular motion? So going back to our video, ball goes down, up, and around. Okay, so that's how we ended up getting a level 3 for backswing. For the foot actions, if I have it bolded if it's what the textbook classified their step as, but I feel like foot action between like a short contralateral step and a long contralateral step is kind of subjective based on, your visual experience, and also we don't necessarily get to see the frontal view, which sometimes could help with foot action because they could have a short step and it's kind of oblique to their body. They could also have like a long step and it could be oblique, but from a side view it looks short. So for the foot actions, if they were a contralateral step and you put a 3 or a 4, you got full credit. So I didn't dock off points if you were off. When we look at foot action though, that's the one up here. The first thing to note is there a step taken? And then the next thing to distinguish is, are they stepping with the same leg as their throwing arm or with the opposite leg of their throwing arm? In this case, I'm just going to keep it on this frame because we can clearly see that his throwing arm is opposite of the foot that stepped forward. So again, any type of contralateral step level we would have accepted for this one. For trunk motion, he categorized as a level 2. So if we look at our observational plan, is there any rotational movement at all? And if we look at his video, we can see yes, there is. So then the point after that is if the lower trunk or hips rotate at all. Okay, so if we're looking here, yes, we do see the hips rotate. Okay, and we can notice if you line up right about here, if you look at how his shoulder and his hip move together, they rotate pretty much at the same rate, right? So that would classify us as a step 2 with blocked rotation because the trunk and the pelvis are moving as a single unit. Humerus and forearm action are a little bit more difficult to distinguish, so I'll kind of go into these examples in depth, and then for the other ones I'll kind of graze across them because it'll be the pretty much the same concept that we're repeating. I think the important part for these two is understanding that front facing is kind of your key moment in the throw. So if we go back to our observational plan and we go to humerus action, the first thing you want to look at is, does the humerus form any type of right angle with the trunk? If yes, then that's where you look at the front facing. So when they get to front facing, is their humerus, or technically think about it, is their elbow pointing towards you? Or do you see their elbow kind of outside of their body line? So we'll pull this back. Okay, so we'll slide this until we get to front facing. Okay, where his shoulders would be square to his front, directly this way. Okay, from here we notice his elbow is pointing forward, so that would be outside of the outline of his body, right? And that's how we end up getting a step 2, that his humerus is aligned, but it's moving independently. The forearm action was also classified as a step 2. And for forearm, we still use the front facing as kind of the major landmark in the throw. And what we're looking at is where is the deepest lag of the forearm. So when we look at this video, the deepest lag is like the lowest point. You can think about it as the lowest point of the hand, right? So I would probably say like right about in this area is where he has his deepest lag, because after that, his forearm starts making an arc around, right? And so we look at the timing of that deepest lag in relation to forward facing, and we notice that that deepest lag occurs before forward facing or front facing. So that's how we get a step 2 or a forearm lag. And I did put a note in here that this was a typo from the textbook. It should say step 3 for the delayed forearm lag. It is correct in the table that you guys were provided. So now we have that example under our belt, we can look at his accuracy throw. And we'll start at the same spot, looking at backswing first. Okay, so does the arm move backward before it moves forward? We can drag this through. I would say for the most part, nope, right? He does have a little bit of trunk rotation, which kind of makes it look like his arm is moving backwards, but we're really looking for a backswing where the forearm is behind the body, okay? So that's what we're referring to when we say does the arm move behind or backwards before it goes forward. So in this case, we would say there's no backswing, and that's how we end up getting a level 1 for the backswing action. Then we can look at the foot action. So if we go in here, actually let's go to our observational plan. And the first thing we're looking for is a step taken? Okay, so we can go to the start of his throw, which is here, and we can see he doesn't really move either of his feet. He starts in a staggered stance, but that doesn't count as a step, so that automatically tells us no step was taken. He's automatically at level 1. For the trunk, the book argued that he was at a level 1, but I kind of think you could argue a level 1 or 2. So if we watch if there's any rotary movement, the book basically said no, because it's not a whole lot right there. But you could also argue that he's got a little bit of upper rotation, even though his hips or his pelvis isn't really rotating that much either. Okay, you might be able to argue that he's got some blocked rotation, but I would think 1 or 2 would be appropriate developmental levels for the trunk. For the humerus and the forearm, he was at level 1s for both of those. So if we go back to our observational plan, again, our key point in the movement phase or the movement pattern is the forward facing. So for humerus action, we are interested in looking at forward facing. Here, probably say is a good spot, right? Is his, first of all, is his humerus at a right angle with his body? Right now, that humerus is kind of sloped downwards, so I would say he's not at a right angle. Okay, so in that case, we would say the humerus is oblique, which is why he's at a level 1. And then for the forearm, step 1 is based on if like the forearm is moving continuously through its movement pattern. So from here we can see as he, there we go. As he starts moving, his forearm kind of keeps going. It never really has a point where it's stopped. So that's how we get a level 1 for both the humerus and the forearm.